Arthur Conan Doyle was a Catholic, and he was educated here at Stonyhurst in Lancashire by the Jesuits, an order whose very name has become synonymous with subtle intellectual debate, and whose long history of persecution by the English Reformed Church has made them acutely aware of the need for trickery, disguise.
Stonyhurst was a school that awarded scholarships to religious boys who might eventually become priests. They had great hopes of Doyle. But, as Doyle said later, it was here that he started to require evidence for his faith. Bread and wine to him was just bread and wine. Surprisingly, the school conspired to let him serve communion without taking it. They knew that even if he'd rejected their version of it, he was still very serious about religion.
The boys here at Stonyhurst are grouped according to years, and the names of those years, figures, elements, syntax and so on, are derived from medieval rhetoric. There's a case to be made for saying that Holmes's logic derives as much from the scholasticism of Aquinas as it does from the scientific spirit of some 19th century thinking machine. As late as 1907, Doyle tells us that one of the volumes in his collection is The Jesuits in Canada. This school made an indelible impression on him.
Oh, a very strong influence. And I think that can be demonstrated by his most famous story, The Hound of the Baskervilles. Remember that Stonyhurst is one of the most isolated schools in the country. And the story of Baskerville Hall is the story of a house in isolation in the West Country. But think of Stonyhurst, utterly remote, shrouded by mist and rain in the winter. And at the period when he was here, we had some men called the gentlemen philosophers, who were young men who came here to sit the university examinations of London University.
Which they weren't allowed at that point to go for Oxford and Cambridge because of the legislation.
No, they were prohibited from doing so, and they could keep their dogs and horses here. Well, the dogs were kept in kennels over the way next to the mill, and they would
Where was that, over back in the...
That was over beyond the chapel, over there. And it meant that if you were sleeping in the school at night, you'd hear the dogs baying.